If you're in the continental US, you might already be seeing frost on the windows or smelling that first wood smoke in the air. I know that in Michigan, there's already been the first snow. My mom and brother were sending pictures this weekend of little flaky snow drifts falling down, but it wasn't quite cold enough for the snow to stick. Here on Maui, it feels like winter, Maui's version of winter, which means we're feeling the first real rains after months of sun, at least on the west side of Maui where I'm at, which is like the desert environment, the dry side. Kind of more like spring feels like everywhere else, but the land's starting to turn green again. And I actually am putting on a long sleeve shirt in the morning to go on the dog walk instead of only being able to wear tank tops 24/7. But today we're talking about the energetics of winter in business. I'm talking the more traditional version of winter, not the Maui version of winter, which is when nature slows down and goes inward. One of my top podcast episodes is on the 4 seasons of business. And with winter, you can kind of think about it as the very bottom of an exhale. If we have a big inhale and hold your breath and exhale and hold your breath before the next inhale. Winter is that fully exhale, hold before the next inhale. This is when nature is conserving energy. We're not producing. A lot of things are underground, unseen, or maybe even in hibernation. And this can be a really, really uncomfortable energy in this current toxic, exploitative, capitalist society that we're all a part of. That is all about production. That is all about doing, where your worth is connected with how much you produce. But if you're a longtime listener, you know that's not true. And hopefully you've already started to implement more cyclical natures into your life and business. Now, of course, I do want to add in that just because we're experiencing an external winter or going into this winter season, that doesn't mean that your business or your personal energy is in winter mode. You can be feeling summer energy in your business, which is like going and launching and putting out new projects and being hyper creative. So this spring and summer energy, even though externally you're seeing snow or plants dying, the importance is just recognizing that at some point you need to factor in or even schedule in a winter period in your business to prevent burnout. Now, I've talked with so many business owners who are on the verge of or currently experiencing or just getting out of physical burnout. And you often don't even realize it's happening until you just can't do anything anymore because we're not taught how to even account for it, how to look out for it, the symptoms of it until you're way past the point of exhaustion. It kind of reminds me of, I was talking with the energy worker that I've been working with for 2 years. She's been on the podcast, Julia Elbain, but she was bringing up how in most cultures outside of the US, there is some sort of ritual or habit around parasite cleansing where there's either some sort of herb or spice or time of year or cultural meal that has ingredients that will naturally kill parasites. And we just don't have that in the US. So I've been taking this little parasite cleanse tincture the week of the full moon every month to kind of cyclically bring it in. But when you don't have these cycles in place or this knowledge in place or built into a culture, you don't have these preventative measures folded in. You have to deal with it when it's an actual problem. Capital P, underlined problem. So if you're listening to this in real time, we're mid-November, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. There's definitely a collective slowdown starting to happen, at least in a business sense or a schooling sense. There can be additional frenetic energy around family and get-togethers and buying presents and all the things. There's definitely a shift of pace on the work side of things. This is also a great time for gratitude, for reflection. But today I wanted to talk about the meaning and the magic of winter, how to tell what season your business is actually in, how to recognize burnout, how to work with the season, even if your internal energy doesn't match the external one. So first of all, let's just recap the 4 energetic seasons of business. This is recognizing that Your business is a living ecosystem. It is not a factory that is pumping out widgets. It is an ecosystem that is going through seasons. So your business ecosystem will go through spring, summer, autumn, winter. These could all be the same amount of times every year, the same time of year every time, or you could go through years of summer energy, years of spring energy, whatever it is. If you are nourishing yourself, nourishing your body, taking care of your business systems, these will naturally balance themselves if you're not pushing beyond what is natural for you in your business. But first of all, we have spring. You know you're in spring if you have new ideas sprouting, you're in this experimentation mode, you're planting seeds. It's the brainstorm season when everything feels possible. Summer energy, summer season is this full bloom. You're in big visibility. There's this big launch energy. There's so much abundance coming in. It's when the bees are buzzing and clients are magnetized to your energy. And when you hear that, yes, everyone wants to be in summer energy all the time, but it's not healthy to be so. Unless you're continually growing your team, that would be the hack around that, but that's not the topic of today. Autumn is harvest and discernment. This is when we're editing, we're refining, we're pruning. You're gathering data, you're gathering cash, you're gathering lessons, and you're also composting what didn't work or what doesn't work. And now winter. This is more dormancy and root work. This is when nature stops producing fruit. It stopped producing fruit for a while. It's already lost its leaves. Death is happening all around us, and beneath the soil, the mycelium networks are still working. Building relationships, strengthening structure, decomposing what's old into nourishment for what's next. So instead of going out into the world, out and doing super public facing things, it's coming inward into the business. So a fun little fact is that plants grow roots up to 30% deeper in winter months as they prepare for next growth cycles. And many perennial species conserve energy by shifting sugars from their leaves to their roots. So the carbohydrates in their leaves, they're pumping them down into their root systems. It's essentially a natural energy audit. And your business has roots too. These are your systems. These are your foundations. These are your relationships. And they need time underground to strengthen. They need attention to strengthen. You need to pump sugar into them, carbohydrates into that root system to strengthen. If you're constantly in summer energy, you are harvesting and putting out fruits without regenerating. It's kind of like the toxic extrovert that only wants to make new friends and never spends any time actually doing deep dives with their current friends. They just want to meet the new person, new person. And it's really, really shallow. That's what too much summer energy can do. Now, as for the meaning and magic of winter, winter isn't just about death. It's also about this incubation. The stillness can be deceptive. In soil science, decomposition accelerates in moist, cool conditions, turning organic matter into fertile humus. So if we're thinking about a compost pile, which is one of the most important things when it comes to creating fertility, everything that looks like decay is actually transformation. It can look like nothing is happening, but if you actually dig in there after a few weeks or a few months, what needed to be decomposed has turned into pure fertility. So in our businesses, that podcast that flopped, the offer that didn't sell, the idea that no longer excites you, those are your compost materials. You're required to let go, or at least you're being asked to let go of these things so that they can compost and turn into new fertility. They can be the fertile material for when it's time for spring to come. And if you've been feeling bored, if you've been feeling burnt out, if you feel like you have no new ideas or kind of like the spark in your business is gone, it might be a sign that you need to compost some things. You might be being asked to go into winter. Now, the magic of winter is also this dreaming energy, gestation, integration. It's archetypically connected to the crone, aka this deep wisdom. And it's when your intuition becomes the CEO, or what I prefer actually is the CMO, the Chief Magical Officer. And I do have another podcast episode called The Chief Magical Officer. If you don't know what I'm talking about, definitely go listen to that episode. So a 2012 study from Stanford University showed that periods of rest and mind wandering, or maybe even boredom, activates the brain's default mode network, which is associated with creativity and problem solving. So when we're in this doing, action, all the things mode this spring or summer, we can actually be less creative. We need these rest periods in order to actually have our biggest creative breakthroughs. So when you feel unproductive or quote unquote unproductive, your brain may actually be making quantum leaps in integration. This is actually when we are rewiring our brains. But let's say you are in a forced winter because you forced perpetual summer. I'm talking about burnout, if I'm not being clear. So signs that you're in business burnout is you feel anxious when you're not producing. You keep scrolling instead of resting. Your launches feel heavy instead of exciting. You're resentful towards your business or clients. By forcing too much production, by forcing this perpetual summer, your body and your business are going to force you into burnout. Farmers know that planting the same crop over and over again in the same field depletes the soil. That's why there was traditionally fallow seasons where you wouldn't plant anything at all. I mean, now we kind of have this skewed version of this because of chemical farming where you can just buy nutrients and put them in the soil, whatever you've depleted, or maybe you can chug a bunch of coffee or take supplements. Force yourself into creativity. But businesses do the same thing when they never rotate focus or rest the land. Rest your brain, rest the team. The World Health Organization defines burnout as chronic workplace stress that has been successfully managed. Ugh, I'll read that again. They define burnout as chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. And unfortunately, most people take their university experience or their corporate experience and they bring it into their self-employment, into their business, and then ramp it up. They become their own world's worst boss. So what I've witnessed is you're actually more likely to go into burnout as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, than someone in a corporate situation. All of that absolutely can be managed by adding more cycles, seasons into your business, but also defining who you want to be as a boss to yourself. Kind of like parts work, as we talked about in the episode with IFS expert Andrea Tessier. But aside from that, 77% of professionals report feeling burnout in their current role. So over 3/4 of the population. But science shows that burnout reduces creativity and innovation, literally shrinking the hippocampus, the part of your brain tied to learning and memory. Like, this is nuts. I'm shocked that more corporate settings, more bosses, more managers aren't aware of this or talking more about this. And you, as your own boss, need to be so aware of this. You not actually bringing forward rest, bringing forward mind wandering, bringing forward this season of winter in your life, in your business, forcing summer, leading to burnout, it's actually going to bring out the worst in you and the worst in your business. So how to address this? I invite you to do a business soil test, and you can ask yourself where your nutrients being depleted, and the nutrients I'm talking about is energy, time, and joy. You might need to get pretty severe in what you remove from your schedule and from your business. Often 80% of what we work on is just bullshit tasks that are filling up our time, like trying to be omnipresent when we haven't even gone deep on a single channel, or creating this side project, this extra course instead of learning how to just sell your first course extremely well. If you're neurodivergent, if you're a higher energy creative person, we create so much extra work for ourselves that don't have to actually happen. So if you're in this burnout or you think you're on the verge of burnout, you need to be really serious of what does my business need on the most basic level to continue forward, to serve my clients, at least give them what I promised them, and reconnect to nourishment, what actually feeds your aliveness in business. And of course, the very, very basic physical things that in an online setting often gets forgotten: sleep, sunlight, water, movement, the same needs your plants have. I mean, not the movement bit, but our physical bodies need these things, and they are a higher priority than that business project. You've probably heard me mention the regenerative business ecosystem, but what actually is it? RBE is my all-access membership for online entrepreneurs who want to build thriving, ethical, nervous system safe businesses, ones that feel as good to run as they look on paper. Inside, you'll get every single course, workshop, and template I've ever created, from copywriting Alchemy and drill-worthy offers to evergreen ecosystem and your root system. Everything's organized into clear learning pathways, so you'll always know exactly what to focus on next for your season of growth. And when you join, you'll get a personal onboarding audio from me, like a private welcome ritual where I help you identify your next right steps based on where you are in your business right now. But my absolute favorite part of RBE is the live calls. Every month we meet twice. One of those is always a Q&A call with me where I answer every question you asked. You'll get what you need every time. We also move through quarterly implementation cycles, themed seasons of focus, reflection, and growth, plus access to audio drops, a private podcast, and a vibrant community where collaborations, referrals, and real friendships happen. RBE isn't another hustle container. It is a living ecosystem built on rhythm, reciprocity, and regeneration. When you join, you get to grow your wealth and impact without losing your aliveness. Members have used these tools to double their income while working fewer hours, rebuild their creativity after burnout, and finally feel grounded in their leadership again. You can join us now at thedirtyalchemy.com/RBE, and podcast listeners get 20% off their first month with code PODCAST. Your next season of ease, expansion, and impact starts here inside the regenerative business ecosystem. Join now and have your best year yet. Now, let's talk about the shadow of winter, because there are reasons or very common fears that business owners have around the winter season in their business, thanks to our society. But some fears you might have about allowing yourself rest for weeks or months is a fear of being forgotten. You could be having some anxiety around income dips because you haven't set up systems in your business. You could have an inner critic saying that you're lazy. Maybe you're really afraid of feeling visible online, or you're already feeling invisible online. But every shadow season is where our faith is tested. Can you still trust the cycle when it looks like nothing's happening? And how we all struggle with this. In human design, I'm a manifester, and one of the biggest parts of this energy type is big bouts of creation followed by big bouts of rest. And every single manifester that I know fucking hates the rest season. But again, as we're talking about all of today, most of us do. We crave rest, but also there's so much anxiety. And for me, the big fear around it that I'm constantly working through is there's a bit of distrust around creativity coming back, a distrust around spring coming again, you know? But the largest living organism on Earth is a 2,400 acre fungal network in Oregon. You can't see it, but it's constantly exchanging nutrients, information, life. Just because your growth isn't visible doesn't mean it's stopped. So if you are in this winter season, or you feel like you're on the verge of this winter season, a great practice is tracking subtle signs of growth, improved systems in your business, better boundaries being held, deeper relationships with those in your life, in your team, with clients. And you can also name what's composting, what you're letting go of, what you're grieving, and fucking bless that thing. Okay, now let's switch over. If you are in a summer with your inner world / business, even though we're physically in November, December, winter, you're feeling inspired and vibrant. It's actually a great time. Now, don't force this. Do not force perpetual summer. But if you're naturally and you sense that you are in a summer period internally / in your business, November and December can be a sales boom season. People are in active buying energy. The US retail sales spiked by over 30% in Q4, according to the US Census Bureau. That's a big fucking spike. So this might actually be a time where you run a holiday campaign, or you launch a course, or you do a year-end sale, or you do Black Friday. Just make sure that you are bringing balance into this, in the sense that how can you reuse what you've already done before? How can you bring in more automation? How can you ask for more help and delegate more? How can you put in sacred pauses into your day? How can you limit extra calls? What are these things that we can be filtering in that honor our external? The fact that you probably have more family time right now in the holiday season with this internal summer energy. But you might also want to be sensitive to where your people are, in what cycle or season they are in. Like if you're personally feeling, I'm in my summer energy and I just want to sell and talk and be very present, you might need to balance that with, are the people that buy from you, your ideal audience, your ideal client, are they also in summer energy, or are they in winter energy? Of course, we are such huge influencers, so people can actually borrow your summer energy. But if you know your people are very family focused right now, they're not paying attention to whatever you sell, you can use your summer energy to create new funnels, to plan and create all the material for a launch that you do in February. I don't know. But you can actually use this energy for the future, or to build even more systems within your business that serve you for the future. So don't just force your summer energy on everyone else unless you're like, no, this is perfect timing. Okay, so working with winter energy, whether that is you're in a physical winter and you want to work with the winter energy, or you're feeling this internal winter and you want to work with that energy, or both. The first is to audit your ecosystem. What offers, what clients, what systems still feel alive? And alternatively, what's ready to return to the soil? Number 2, compost deliberately. List what you're ready to let die. That could be internal things like beliefs or identities, but it could also be stuff in your business like old courses or old branding. And if you want to get a little ceremonial with it, you can write them on a piece of paper and burn them or bury them. I personally think burning is so perfect for this time of year, though. Third is to simplify your root systems. It's the time of year to pump some sugar into your roots. So focusing on your root system is a great thing to do right now. How can you automate admin tasks, delegate repetitive work, hire some new people, create that funnel? Number 4, it's time to nourish your creative work. Whether that's reading or resting or making art or walking. When you feed your inner ecosystem, the business will follow, but you have to make actual time for this and not just force a bunch of doing in your calendar. And then 5, vision incubation. Start dreaming into next year. It's not a time to plant yet, but just starting to feel into what wants to sprout next. A 2011 study from the University of Amsterdam found that incubation is a key stage of creativity. You stepping away from a problem increases the likelihood of an aha insight by up to 60%. So again, as I've said over and over now, there's so much purpose in rest and in this winter season. So it's not just restorative, it's very generative. So in closing, reminder that your business is a living system. It thrives when you honor its seasons. Winter isn't the end. It's an integration period that will set you up so well for the next season. So from today, I invite you to reflect on what season your business is in, what season you are in. Reflect on what do you need to release, and then what wants to root more deeply. If you want to do a little ritual with this, you can light a candle. You can thank your business for what it's teaching you this year and bless the coming cycle. If you're listening in real time, You might even want to schedule some time in the coming weeks, especially with the hectic chaos that the holiday season can bring for some families. Actually having open days in your calendar, unplanned time, or full on half days that you take away from your family, know that that can really, really nurture and nourish what is coming next. Okay, have a good week, and I'll talk to you next Thursday.